Hi, in this week's episode, we are going to discuss the ability or viability of being friends with your ex. And so without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. You're listening to All Cards on the Table podcast with Claire and Silvia, a show that talks about how men and women aren't so different from each other. We just don't speak the same language. We will dissect every topic and put an end to miscommunication. So, get ready to get uncomfortable. Hi, and welcome to All the Cards on the Table. My name's Claire Attio.
Hi everyone, this is Silvia.
And in this week's episode, we are going to discuss the whole being friends with your ex. Silvia came across in her research, came across a video by Josh, Know Your Worth coach. And he was actually debating, which is what we're going to continue now, the viability of should you actually be friends with your ex? Here's what he was saying.
It's what's best for the kids. You know what? I'm going to say it. I might lose some followers. I might get canceled for this. But at the end of the day, you know what would have been best for the kids if y'all would have stayed together. But you couldn't stop cheating. You couldn't get past the petty arguments. You didn't live a marriage by God. You didn't go to church together. And you refused to seek therapy. But now you're trying to justify being friends with your ex because you have kids with them. There's a difference from being cordial with an ex and being friends with an ex. You should absolutely be cordial with the baby mama or baby daddy of your children. And keep it about the kids. That's it. But I refuse to disrespect my future person by being friends with my ex because I have kids with them. I won't allow that crevice in the door for more things to develop because it is a woman's natural instinct to keep her family together. And let's talk about the confusion that it creates with the children. The children came from a joint household now to a split one. So they're already confused in itself. Now they're seeing mommy and daddy not together playing family. Kids are observatory creatures. What they see, they do. And it is up to us to guide them through life and teach them how to live life, how to love, how to have good work ethic. And so they are now going to grow up and say, you know what? I can start a family. I can build a family and destroy it. That's not okay, but y'all ain't ready for that conversation.
It's hard-hitting. It's hard-hitting, but I think it's very important. For me, I'm going to be honest. I don't think you should. I've never been able to be friends with an ex. I have the capability of being cordial, but I don't. Those two, for me, when I love very so deeply that when that is destroyed, the friendship is destroyed.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes. It's the same for me. I know that he's talking about when you have children, right? That you don't have a choice. So the comment was that that's really hard not to be friends with your ex if you guys have kids together. And well, of course, if you don't have any kids, that's an easy goodbye, sayonara, whatever. But when you have children together, most of the time they want to just co-parent. And I think people forget that co-parenting and being friends are two different things.
Yes.
And that's what he's saying. Like, you of course need to be good and respectful towards your ex because that is the parent or the mother or the father of your children. You don't want to treat someone that's special to them bad in front of them, but also it cannot go further than that. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not about, for me, it wouldn't be about being kind and respectful in front of the children. I would want to be able to get myself into a space where I could have a cordial, and I think that he makes that distinction between friends and being cordial, between friends and co-parenting. He makes that distinction. And for me, it would be about actually feeling cordial towards that ex.
Yeah,
so it's not a case of doing it for the sake of the children. It's doing it because, okay, that relationship didn't work. That love no longer exists. And I think this, if you're in a platonic relationship, and I think this is the aspect that probably where he was coming from, and what we all feel on an energetic level, but we never discuss. Even if you're in a platonic relationship, it's a friendship. There is a level of love that you hold for that person. Now, if you have had a romantic love with that person, so it's an ex, and then you're bringing in a new partner, how disrespectful and dysfunctional is it for that new partner? How difficult is it for that new partner to, on a regular basis, because you've got co-parenting, feel you give love to the ex?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he's saying here, or that's what I'm perceiving from what he's saying. And I think he's quite right. I think that is immensely disrespectful to a potential new partner.
Absolutely, I agree. I think he's right in every way. But people want to justify it in, oh no, you have to be friends for the children. And I've seen that. To me, I have actually felt uncomfortable around that scenario where I'm like, wait, also, like, you don't think your kid's gonna have mixed signals? Like, oh, my parents are getting back together again, we're doing things together again. And like you say, you're sending the mixed signals that they can just go out and get married, have kids, and then, okay, it doesn't work out, then I'll go out and get married again with them, have more kids, but we're all just happy-go-lucky, the Brady brunch, kind of deal. And I never got that. Of course, I'm very old-fashioned sometimes, I think, in that sense of, if you break up with someone, it's done, over, move forward. And that's it. It's the end of it. Yeah. Of course, I understand that, like the comment said, well, you can't when you have children, but we need to be realistic of saying, like, there's a difference, and we need to make that distinguish of, we have to be respectful towards each other because we have children together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be friends. We don't need to be going to making
barbecues together.
Exactly, vacationing, all the families stuff together. Like that. Exactly. And I don't want to. I see that a lot here in Sweden, and I'm like, oh my god! I at first I can't understand it. It's like I said, maybe it's just my prehistoric mentality or something, traditional. But in the beginning, I used to feel a little uncomfortable with that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I was like, oh, maybe I'm just too antiquated, or maybe I'm just like thinking like this. But as it became more evident of the idea that, one, there's always going to be someone who's going to end up getting hurt in that scenario.
Yeah.
Always, whether it's one of the exes because they thought that maybe they could have had a chance, or they're like, oh, I like us like this, maybe we could, there's potential, there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Or the new partner that could be like, that was like, wait a second, you're still, where do I really stand? Is there hope for us in the future? Or if you are already married with a new partner, you're still friends with the old. It's like, when do you separate the both? Mm-hmm. You're disrespecting your new partner, and mm-hmm. that they haven't done anything to earn that disrespect from, if you put a new person in your life, but you want to keep the old one, it's kind of like you want to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've never had a relationship that has, when they've wanted to remain friends, basically that has translated, and it took, and I think this is why I'm so strong on my belief on this now, mm-hmm. because it's something I've personally experienced. Because the side of me, the psychologist in me, is like, oh no, we can all be lovely dovely together, it's okay, it's in the past, we let it go. And yeah, that's true. But I have never been in a situation where they have said, you know, let's have this friendship, where actually covertly it hasn't meant let's keep this door open just in case.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if I'm just thinking about the children, because if, like you said, you know, they've already gone through this whole separation and, you know, trying to figure out what that means. And then you're still doing things together. And then the confusion that the children must be going through, even if you just said they're like, no, we're just friends, and you think you can talk to them on every way, shape, or form. No, because like they will, you're already programming them, like he said, into this idea that that's how adult relationships work. And if he just goes into one thing, it's okay, because then he'll always have everybody in his life. And he might marry somebody who doesn't think that way, and they're going to have problems because they're like, well, my parents did it and I don't understand what's wrong with you. And that's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's right. But I mean, like I said, I have never had that experience of having to deal with an ex with kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that, for instance, a lot of my friends who do have that, the ones that are just completely 100% cordial to their ex-spouses, you know, just bare minimum. They're not, you know, just bare minimum contact, if any at all.
Mm-hmm.
Actually do have a really healthy new relationship.
Yeah.
Versus the other ones that try to be like, well, we're gonna go and have take the kids together to, I don't know, Disneyland per se, whatever, or a vacation together, and it's just gonna be my kids and my ex
and my new wife,
and not
my
your
new
wife.
husband.
No, and so because there was a scenario like that, and my question is like, how does she feel? And she's like, well, she's not happy, but she knew what she was getting herself into. And I'm like, oh, that's so disrespectful. And I was just like, okay, it's none of my business. I mean, she's like, no, because at the end she knew that I had a child and the child comes first. And I'm like, yeah, their child will always come first, but that doesn't mean that you bring your eggs. Yeah, but it's that's what she wants. She wants us together, and we're actually quite good friends, so it's not a big deal. And I'm like, oh my God,
is that not a red flag? You know, this is that is a massive red flag there.
To me, I guess I was just thinking in my very womanly hood, like the jealous. I was like, if I was the wife, I was so like jealous. Why do you insist that? And some people say like that's toxic for you to think that. And I'm like, is it toxic that I will feel jealous that my husband, who has a previous marriage and has children, are still really good friends and they're going on a vacation together? Am I wrong for feeling that? So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I don't even know where I stand with this, because it's so complicated enough as it is to feel that way. And if I would express that feeling, then that makes me toxic. I don't understand, blah 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 blah. If I don't express that, then I'm gonna feel that way. It's gonna build to resentment, and one day this is gonna blow up. So
do you know what I'm listening to you then, and what's coming out for me and what's coming up for me, which is interesting, is this whole because it's one of the things I teach and it's one of the things you teach, emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. But emotional intelligence also incorporates all the negative emotions and understanding why we're feeling them. And very often when you're at a certain level, then yeah, we all know that we can feel jealousy because we're running programs of unhealed wounds. But when you've done personal development and then there is a red flag that comes up and you identify, and we call it, and I think this is where we need to be really careful, because our psyche will call it jealousy. Mm-hmm. Whereas your spirituality will go, no, it's a freaking red flag. Mm-hmm. And this is where we need to be careful.
But that's what I'm saying. It's
in a speech.
And then that's what I was saying. Like I would go into my womanlyhood brain when people have been telling us that, mm-hmm. you know, it's jealousy, you're jealous. And I'm like, is it? or is it something else? Because to me, that's just saying like, hey, so it sounds to me like you guys have something that you guys haven't figured it out. If I was in that situation, I would probably be like, I'm gonna let myself out because until you figure this whole relationship. Are you guys friends? Are you guys still together? What's going on here? Because I cannot be a part of that. But for me thinking like that, they're like, oh, well then that's just not very healthy for the children. I'm like, no, what it's not healthy is that you're giving mixed signals.
Yeah.
You're giving mixed signals for everyone. And if you were just saying, hey, we're gonna go, one thing is like there's a wedding and my ex is gonna be there and we're civil towards each other. That's not what I'm talking about. I've seen ex-spouses go on vacation together with their children only.
Yeah.
So it's, and the ex or the new wife or the new husband stays behind.
And I'm sorry, when that happens, there is because one or the other harbors and is hoping for a reunion.
Yeah,
it is. I'm sorry. There is nothing in this world that anybody could say to me in that moment that would make me change my mind on that. Because if you're going to go on holiday with your ex and your kids, then one or the other of you are hopeful. And as Silvia said, to go to a family wedding, to go to a christening, there are lots of situations where you will go with your new partner and your old partner will be there. Your baby mama or your baby daddy will be there because it's family. We've said it in other podcasts. When you marry, when you're in a serious relationship and you have children, you're in that serious relationship with not just the person you're with, you're in that serious relationship with the family. And that is more so when you decide to add to that family.
Yeah.
We're not talking about those situations.
No.
We're talking, as Silvia said, these
bigger, and someone would say, well, that's very progressive. And I'm like, I don't know if that's progressive. I just think that's just lack of communication where someone's not saying the reality of that they want, like you said, they have hope, because there's so many mixed signals. There's like I said, I cannot say this enough or stress this enough, that there's a difference between being friends. Friends go out, they talk to each other, they say they, still hang out, they do things together, they call each other in their worst or their bad times. They're like your emergency contact. Yeah, there's intimacy.
With friendships, there's even when it's platonic, there is a level of intimacy.
Yeah, and so that right there, that feeling can be easily for the other person involved, mean like there's something else going on there. And that's what I'm saying. That's where people get like, well, there's confusion, there's mixed signals, because one of the spouses probably is going to think there's still hope, and the new partner or the new person is going to like, there's something else going on here.
Well, there is.
Because there is. And even
they're having an intimate relationship with their ex.
Yes. And again, I mean, how many times have spouses that were friendly end up back together because they've actually, they were, we get along great as friends, let's try this again. And so yes, you shouldn't. I personally, I don't think so. But again, if that was me, I don't think I could ever be friends with my ex-husband, ever. It would be like, here, okay, let's agree to see each other if we have to. If not, goodbye. You move your way, I go my way. The only time we talk is about the kids, and keep it very only about the children and what's best for the children. But I'm like, I am not gonna go on any vacation with you. Absolutely not. No, you cannot call me when you had a bad day or a good day. No, you cannot ask for my advice on what to do. No, that's done and over with.
Yeah. From my perspective, I have been divorced, but I know I would not get involved with anybody who had a friendship with their ex, because I know that friendship would have a level of intimacy within that friendship. Platonic friendship, I'm not, you know, they are being very progressive and they have a friendship. But for me, I would take from that they have a level of platonic intimacy that would mean that the relationship that I had with that person is not sacred. There's a third party in it. The intimacy is being shared.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where people,
it is a difficult one.
And I think that's why people have a hard time, because I know I've heard this quite often that, well, you know, as spouses, they were horrible, but they're actually quite a lovely person and they're nice and they're good friends. What I hear is that, oh my God, so this person just kind of won the lottery, because you're still in their life and they don't have to do any of the work of being married to you anymore, but he gets to have, or she gets to have, the still you in their life.
That's a really it's all good, and
that's a really good for how convenient, because now you guys are really good friends and doing all the good things, but he does no longer have the responsibility to act as your spouse. How convenient.
Yeah, so that is a really good point.
That's how I see it. So I'm like, no, we're done. But of course, I understand that we still need to be respectful of each other, but that's it. Respectful because of that. And then once the kids are older, if we don't ever talk to each other ever again, great. There's no reason to. So they're an ex for a reason. And I think we talked about this in another podcast, how you know, it's hard to be friends with a male person, enough as it is, but with an ex, is that even okay, even if you don't have children? Because you know, when you're friends with an ex, that's going to lead to something.
Well, it's that in my experience, when I've had an ex, they say, oh, let's be friends. And I've been naive enough. When I've been there, I've been naive enough to go, oh yeah, that'd be nice. It's always been I've realized afterwards, it's always been a keeping the door open, keeping my options available. And then that's really pissed me off, because they have looked at me in that way, rather than looked at me as if I'm not one. Do you know what I mean? It's because what it's actually done is it's made me an option. Inadvertently, in my naivety, I became an option.
Yeah.
And I'm not this freaking option.
It's funny you say that. When you said that door open, it just brought me back to this one time I was with a friend. It was in college. And I had thought that, and this is just a friend, you know, we were just talking, and he was telling me about his ex, and that they were going to go hang out. And I was just like, oh, I thought you guys broke up, something like that. And he was like, yeah, we're done, but we're still friends. And I said, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay, whatever. His words were, I'm keeping one foot in the door before it shuts completely, just in case, to see what happens.
Oh, well, there you go.
And so that, I think I forgot about that, but I think that's why I've always had a problem with, like, wait, so you're not really letting her go, but you're not willing to open the whole door. So you're just gonna put your foot there so the door doesn't completely shut off. Yeah. That's probably why I'm like,
it's options. No. It's options. And it's very, now if anything's toxic, that's toxic.
Yeah. And so to me, it was like, but we're friends, we're good. So and at that moment, I was just like, okay, that's weird. But if she's okay with it, I guess, you know. But at that point, it's also like, I don't want someone to say that about me, like, yeah, I'm just putting my foot there. I'm not going to fully open the door, but I'm just going to leave it just enough open just to see what happens.
Well, it's so disrespectful, isn't it? It's so disrespectful.
So I think that's why I'm like, oh, I have so many mixed feelings. Like, no, that door closed, lock it and loose it, and just get that key lost.
Get rid of the key.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be interesting to see what the viewers think. So viewers, if you have experience of this, if you have very firm ideas on this, then leave your comments below. Let us know how you feel about this. I've got very strong feelings on this. I'm past being anybody's bloody option. I was stupid, young and naive, that I allowed myself to kind of go into those realms in the desire to be a modern woman and be progressive and be emotionally intelligent. And I think we need to be careful with all these phrases. I mean, both Silvia and I teach all this, but it's like everything, there's a yin and a yang, and you have to be aware of both sides for there to be balance. I think that's a really good place to leave this. So that's bye-bye from me.
And me. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and please rate us. It would really mean a lot. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and please leave a review, as it helps us grow and bridge the gap between the sexes. If you have any topics you would like us to cover, shoot us an email. Until next time, go out and practice putting all your cards on the table with no judgment, expectations, and fear.